Yeah, today I wanted to show one of my games from the Canadian University Chess Championships. And this is an annual tournament where all Canadian universities play against each other as teams. And it's one of my favorite tournaments that I really love competing in.
Mhm.
So I wanted to show you my game from the final round against Arne Nicholas Vettese, who played for University of Toronto. And this is the strongest team who ended up winning the whole tournament,
Mm.
but it was still a good experience for my university to make it so far to playing them on board one in the final round.
Fantastic, actually. What would have happened if you would have won? It would have been like you would have been in the top three or something, for sure, right?
Yes, yes. But we
Wow.
did end up losing the match. So
Oh
it
well.
didn't happen, but it was a good match.
Okay, I'm very curious. So you were black, obviously. So let's see
Yes.
what opening you have chosen.
I chose e4, e5,
Okay.
knight f3, knight c6. So I had about 5 minutes to prepare before the game. So and I got a second black in a row. And I was a bit
Oh,
sad. I was thinking about white instead,
oh.
but I decided to play something solid.
Okay, good. Good choice. So did you go Italian or Spanish? Let's see.
He went Scotch.
Neither. It's the
So if you know me, I
Scotch.
love the Scotch.
Yeah, that's is this good because you like to play the Scotch as white or you played it quite often. You've even made a course about it after all. So is this something when somebody plays the Scotch against you, you go like, okay, I think I know how to play against the Scotch?
Yeah, I guess when you know an opening well, you usually also feel comfortable playing against it because you
Mm.
know all the different lines that you could go for that you find unpleasant as the other side. How about
Yeah.
you? Do you prefer that or you don't like playing against your own stuff?
Well, since my own stuff is always super hardcore crazy, I always get a bit scared that I play against my own stuff. But yeah, often enough, I know what works good against me when I'm playing the open stuff. So I'm just trying to follow up with those moves.
Yeah, exactly. So I chose the bishop c5 line,
Nice.
and also surprisingly, he played a less popular line that I recommended in my course, which was knight to b3.
He watched your course. Now it is all.
That's what in the 5 minutes before the game, that's
He was like
exactly what
quickly
he
like,
did.
okay, that's a recommendation. I'll play that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the more popular line is bishop to e3 here, and then it continues something like this with queen f6,
Hmm.
c3, and these positions are very popular and very typical to the Scotch. But knight b3, still a line that exists, but just less played than bishop to e3. And the idea here for white is to play queen to e2, which is what he does, and then usually bishop to e3, knight c3, long castle. That's how
Okay.
it goes. And then we could get opposite side castling or maybe same side castling if black decides to go for the long side as
Oh,
well.
this is so destructive. Like black cannot really. I mean, there's a lot of swaps going on. It's like a very safe position for both. It feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my intention.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I just developed with d6 and knight f6, and now I was expecting bishop to e3
Yeah,
because that's usually, well, the idea behind
looks
queen e2
very logical.
and how you would play these setups. Then black would copy, and then yeah, either you can go castle on the short side, which is a little bit dangerous because then you'll have opposite side pawn storms,
Hmm.
or you can go queen e7 and then castle long, and this will be a really positional maneuvering battle going into the middle game with not many pawn breaks going on. So nothing crazy tactics wise, just mainly maneuvering. And this is a position that I did explore in my course too.
Hmm.
So as white though.
Yeah, sure.
But in my game, he played bishop to g5, which I was a little bit surprised, but I knew that this line exists, and all I knew about this line was that we need to kick out that bishop.
Yeah,
So
otherwise knight d5 doesn't look pleasant.
exactly. It looks really unpleasant if I have to deal with knight to d5. So I kicked him out with h6 and then g5. And then after this, I thought that, well, I'm probably gonna castle long after this for sure. So I played queen to e7. And the first critical moment came right away when he played h4. So how do you
Wow.
think you would react to this as black?
Yeah, that is well, my first like immediate response would be to play g4. To
Hmm.
just pass by and then maybe follow up with h5 if white lets me. And if not, then not. I have two defenders for this pawn and I can still continue long casting. Then once my king is safe, I can take care of the rest. Yeah.
Right. So that's also what I played, but it was a slight inaccuracy. So I did play g4, and I thought that this pawn would be okay. But it would have been slightly better to play something like rook g8, just to keep that pawn there and then recapture. And even though
Oh,
you did give white the h file, you will still castle long, and everything is fine and safe.
yeah.
So the
Okay.
reason why g4 is not as good, and I did see this during the game, it was because of h5. So as you
Yeah.
said, ideally you want to play h5, but the opponent does it first, and the idea is to play back bishop to h4 and then knight to
Yeah.
d5.
Now that I see it, it feels uncool. Ugh.
Yeah, it's a bit unpleasant now, but this is something that I calculated and I thought everything would be fine. And I found this idea of knight to d4. So the goal is that, well, either you have to take or you have to move the queen. So let's say if you take, then bishop takes. And what I underestimated in this line was that he can just calmly castle. And then after I take, knight takes e4, I stopped thinking here because I was like, well, his pawn structure is bad. I can even take on e4 if I want. But then apparently there is bishop here, knight g5, and queen to d2, which is really strong for, I guess, dynamic reasons for white. But I
Uh-huh.
don't think this is too findable from afar for for a human.
No,
Maybe it
definitely not.
is. Maybe it is. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not for me.
I don't
But
know. No, I don't think that is
but
yeah.
white will be pretty
I,
much better
okay.
here.
I would
But
still I still like black's position, to be honest. I
but yeah, I
like
just
it.
don't think it's too natural to castle into that and give
Yeah.
up the pawn structure like that. So instead, he plays queen d3, which is what I expected. And this was my idea, to reposition the knight to f5, and now the bishop cannot go to h4.
Indeed
So
not.
I was happy about that. So the bishop moves away to f4 instead, and then bishop to d7.
But now when
So
white castles, we have a
right.
bit of a situation.
Well, there's only one place that I can go to, and it's g7. The knights
Yeah.
do look a bit weird, but at least they're creating the threat on taking on h5. And one thing I was really happy about is that this bishop is no longer going to be on this diagonal and that he cannot go to g5 and create that pin anymore.
Hmm.
So that's where we got. And I don't know, you sound like you like White's position much better from the opening.
I'm
Is
a
that true?
little worried now because I don't know. It's like still. So what one of our very recent lessons, which you had not long ago with me, it was about how to use the dynamic to try to stop your opponent from castling. And I wonder if white can make enough moves to do the same for you. Build up threats like, I don't know, if a4 just doesn't look so much fun to deal with, and because it can also go to a5, then the bishop going to e2 with an immediate queen to g3. Some stuff like this is, I don't know. Also, our knights just don't look too happy now. I mean, this one goes, the one will be repositioned to e6. I don't know. And there's, yeah,
Yeah,
the white knights. I don't know. I don't
you are
like
right.
black's
You're
position.
right.
I'm
White is
sorry.
objectively slightly better.
Uh-huh.
And I was concerned that everything, was tense and hanging on by a thread, and I have to castle really quickly. But yeah, here basically, like a4 did come later in the game,
Okay.
but not yet. So it is slightly better for white, but white has to sort of do something to prove that. And honestly, I don't think there was anything huge. What he did was good. It was knight to d5 to open
Hmm.
up the e file. But
But
then I
now you can
castled
castle. Okay, good.
long and
Finally.
I was pretty happy. And now he plays queen to c3, which is a nice resource to sort of make an emphasis on that knight on g7. And now there was two options, either move the knight to f5 or move the pawn to f5. And
Oh,
pawn to f5 maybe was a little bit better, but I was really concerned about just taking away this good square from both of my pieces um, and to weaken the e6 square.
for
So instead, I played knight to f5,
I
which
completely understand
activates
that. Yeah.
activates the knight, but it just temporarily puts my queen onto f8. So there was no other option for this queen, which is why this queen here was really good. It's, well, not like that,
Yes,
but it
yes, yes,
takes away the
yes.
f6 square from me. So my queen was stuck on f8 a little bit, which is where the slight advantage comes from. It's just that the pieces are a bit better placed. But overall, I was okay with this position. Like, it was a solid position out of the opening, and he's a very tactical player. So something like this is what I wanted. But you'll see that he actually just decides to start an attack out of nowhere too. So
Ah,
now he plays bishop to d3. And my next question is, would you take the pawn on f2?
for sure not. This cannot be good. After that, the rook goes to f1, and then we have so heavy pressure on the f file. This cannot be working. And it is working, right? Or what?
Yeah, it's what I did.
What, you did it?
Yeah,
You.
yeah, I did it. The
I
thing
mean,
is,
you
there is
think
no
about
other move.
g3, right? Or something,
That's
right?
the thing is, what else do I play?
I don't know. Rook
There's
e8.
not really a way to improve. Basically, if queen to g7, which is a normal improving move, then
That's
there's
also,
bishop f5 and you lose the piece
yeah,
because of
that's
the
not working.
recapture with check. So there's not too much left to improve. So bishop f2, I was calculating it and I was like, it has to work. I have to find a way for it to work. So, and it does. But
I like your
it's
spirit.
definitely no, it's definitely, something to be careful about because those pawns never usually that free. So, of course, there's white can always gain it back with something like this, and then rook f1, like you mentioned, and then after I get back, he can always take on d6, let's say, and win it
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
But this is not too big
No,
of a
that
problem,
actually
and
looks fine.
this is fine. So instead, he decides to play without the pawn, and he plays rook here.
Uh-huh.
Now I play g3, which sort of gives away the pawn indirectly. Like he can still take and take on g3, which
Yeah.
I was fine with, to relieve the pressure a little bit. And then I have a good bishop, and then I have open files for my rooks. So it doesn't look as passive anymore. But he doesn't take it, and instead he plays knight to a5. So as I said, he is a tactical player and just wants to start an attack. The idea was just that this knight is kind of not doing much.
Yeah.
So he repositions that knight to c4.
Okay.
Then I attack the queen with bishop to d4. The queen goes to a3, and already there's some threats on the king soon. Maybe not right now, but soon. So here the best move was queen to g7 to activate the queen and to put it both with the bishop. But I was just sort of concerned about this and this. But it's actually not an issue because the bishop just goes back to f2. And any sacrifices like this do not work because of queen to c3 check.
Oh.
Unfortunate for white.
Oh.
But I just played it safe and played king to b8 instead.
Yeah, I would have done the same, 100%.
And it is such a mystery to me why he didn't play bishop takes f5, takes, and win back the pawn on d6.
Yeah, it
I
looks
don't
very
know why he
logical.
didn't do it. This looks pretty good. Maybe not what white wants. Maybe he doesn't want to trade away so many pieces and then, play this slightly better middle game.
Hmm.
I don't know, but this looks pretty good. And sure, you don't get an attack, but you get some weaknesses to target for white, and then you play on. Although
Yeah.
I do like my bishop, so it's back and forth. But instead, he plays bishop to d2.
Okay.
And now, do you think which side would you rather play on?
Now I am fine with both sides, probably. I like the
Okay.
pawn on g3 out of a sudden because it's still uncontested. Of course, I mean, white is getting all the pieces to your king's side. That's the
Mhm.
only thing
You
where
still don't like my position even after so many, after I try so
you've
hard to
tried
improve it.
so hard, Svitlana, but no, I think it should be a bit more equal, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I did start liking my position around here because then I am attacking d5 and king looks safe for now. He plays an interesting move, rook h4.
Ooh,
He wants the attack, so I
yeah.
could feel it from here. I played bishop here, b4,
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Ah,
but
okay,
I
you went
provoked
there.
that to go back to f2. Then he goes knight e3, and now I think this is what sort of makes black's position alive again, is this f5 pawn push, because now I go to f4, and suddenly it looks like my pieces are doing more or less fine. Here, this is where I spent a lot of my remaining time on this move, but you could try to guess what I played here. This was one of my
Oh,
favorite moves
one of your
in
favorite
the game.
moves. Wow. Wow, there
It
must
was
be
maybe not that impressive, but
something.
I liked it.
Oh, it is actually f3, right?
Yes. So you could just take on d5, and this is perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
Also pretty good. But I got really into this f3 calculation, and then I just couldn't not play it.
So now I'm very
It's
curious. What happens after rook f4 exactly?
exactly
You
rook
just
f4.
take?
Now I take.
Oh my gosh.
They take my queen, and I
Oh
just
my
take back the
gosh.
rook. And the problem is that this rook has nothing to do, and I'll just win it and have even another passer at the end of it.
Wow.
And this is winning for black.
Wow.
Yeah, that even basically it's going to be two rooks, but these two rooks are really, really strong. Plus, also this passer is going to, the g3 passer is going to stay
Yes.
and be a problem.
How cool. Okay. Nice. But
So, yeah.
he saw that and he didn't play rook f4.
No, he didn't. Also, g takes f3 is an option, but then I go g2.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
But he plays instantly bishop e4, and I'm like, why? He didn't. Why didn't you go for all the other
Why?
stuff?
Why did I make this move if you don't do this move?
No, bishop e4 was expected, and after that I played bishop to b5, which is also a good move, basically making use of this um, a diagonal that just
Whoa,
opened
there's
up.
nothing which can go in between except the bishop. Wow.
Yeah. So then he moves away, and I should have probably just taken this pawn and then played rook h7, which I didn't see rook h7 as an idea. But instead, I just decided, you know what, you can have that pawn. I'll have the pawn on d5, and we'll trade. A bunch of trades followed up where this bishop got traded for that knight, my bishop got traded for his bishop, and then he regained that pawn that was my extra pawn on g3.
Ah.
Now, which side would you play for now? I know I asked you this so many times. But what are
So,
the plans? What do you think are the plans in this position for both sides?
so out of a sudden everything changed, and now white can try to either try to get an advantage with the G or H pawn. So push the G pawn and then push forward, put the rooks behind the queen and just go for it. And black can try to maybe find a weakness on b4 or either on h5 quickly enough, or just has to defend now after a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thoughts.
So you're right. White has to create a passer with the H and the G pawns. That seems to be the most natural plan here. And for black, it would be to create an attack on the king. Like that's
Ah,
basically the one thing that you have to do in these positions, because queen and knight are really, really powerful, especially in time trouble and especially against like a not so strong bishop.
mhm.
But especially in time trouble.
And he had
And
time
that's
trouble.
exactly what we were at. We were at 30 seconds each. And that's where that was my only plan, is just to get the knight and the queen close to the opponent's king.
Wow, you had 30 seconds each. Nice.
Yeah, so we just had to calculate super quickly. I finally got my queen and knight to a good place. Plays
Oops.
a4 even, very aggressive.
That is aggressive.
But I luckily I have queen a6,
Good.
just defending everything. Then I played d5. And around here, I was feeling pretty good about my position.
Yeah,
I played b6 to undermine the pawns and create the space for the king.
that's a good plan, I think.
Then queen b3 happened. I played, now this move I also really liked, rook g4. So the rook was already good, but it's even better when it also creates threats on the king side.
I
Queen
see,
side.
yeah.
Weird to call it queen side, but it is queen side. Then I played d4, and Black is actually just totally winning here, but I didn't have time to think about that. So I was just playing the position, trying to put pieces on good squares. But this is where the decisive moment of the game happened. What do you think Black should do?
Hmm.
This is something I didn't play.
I mean, the most boring and easy continuation looks as if it could be knight takes on g2, but I think there must be more to it.
Yeah, there is more to that.
So let's see. I wonder, boop, 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 does anything? No, it's terrible. No. I wanted to take on c3, but that is just not working, in my opinion.
Why not?
Well, oh no. Well, we take on c3, the rook takes with check. That's where
Right.
probably every amateur player like myself would stop calculating. Okay, let's go up with the king. There's the only move. And now what to do first? I don't know. Maybe take on. Oh, what? No, wait, that's not working. So what happens if we take on c3?
Yeah, so basically the whole problem of this line is just the fact that b4 is completely unprotected
Oops, I didn't even see that at all.
for the rook to join.
I didn't see that at all.
And something like this, well, I assume the knight, well, okay, we can play rook d1 if we want, we can play knight c4, we can play knight f1, like there's so many things we could
Yeah.
play. I feel like knight c4 is good, but if you really want the exchange back, you can, you know, get it
Okay.
back with rook to d1. But something like this is just really, really powerful.
Whoa.
Um, and the knight has a bunch of like knight b2 is probably a move. Like there's the king is just way too weak. But honestly, being me, maybe I would just find a way to win the rook back somewhere and just play it safe with. Although I'm not even up pawns. Yeah, maybe you have to continue the attack in that case. Like I don't know, knight b2. It doesn't like knight b2. But basically, there's also a nuance where white has an a6 idea. So let's say they move away like this and they have a6, and here you would have to take back with the king, which is a bit more dangerous.
Yes.
But once again, it's basically the same idea with the king just being in a lot of danger. There's no mate, but this is just winning dynamically because soon white will lose one of the rooks
Mm-hmm.
and the king is just too weak with when the knight, queen, and rook attack it. But this was sort of like far-fetched for me to see.
Well,
Maybe you're sort of like a really good attacking dynamic player would just see this and be like, b4 is unprotected, my knight, rook, and queen have to be like good enough.
b4 is the thing which I missed immediately, and that is, of course, looks now super powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I missed that too. I didn't even consider that because I guess I just didn't see before
Yeah.
before as well. Or just, your brain just stops you after rook d8 and that's just it. But I made a really huge mistake and I played c5 here.
Looks
Um,
nice. Like from
no,
an
it's not nice
aesthetic.
because after that we trade queens. After the capture, we
Yeah.
have to trade queens. And that, even though this position looked good to me, I realized here that, oh, trading queens actually really, really helps my opponent.
Hmm.
So, oops, spoiler. So instead, bishop d2. This happened in the game. I got the pawn on g2, but he invaded with his rooks onto the 7th rank, and I did want to play a6 here to stop everything from happening.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, I cannot be passive. I'll have to activate my rooks as well. And now knight e3 is something that held the game even. It's still harder to play now, of course, for black than it used to be even just three
Yeah.
moves ago. It was so different when my pieces were attacking, but now his pieces would be attacking.
No.
But still possible to hold it even with the best play from me. But I played rook to e2. Um, I just, once again, it was just a really time scramble where I didn't have time to calculate. And after a6, I realized that I was lost because he just actually checkmates me with his rooks coming into the seventh.
No, now I'm realizing it. Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh no.
and that was it.
And
But
that's all she wrote.
it was an exciting game, and I learned a lot from it, mainly to play faster and to leave enough time for the critical moments. But yeah, the games that I won in this tournament weren't nearly as exciting. I thought this one was really unique with all the tactics that were happening. But I thought I'd show a loss this time, and because I thought we could enjoy the tactics and the
Thank you
explanation to it.
so much. This is a rare, rare, rare feature that people, like chess players, can show their lost game, even with the purpose of learning something new, which is amazing. Thank you so much, Svitlana. Very, very entertaining game, I have to say.